All right, so today we are, you don't need a pencil right now, I'll take that. So today we are doing a bridge project. So what are some things when you hear the word bridge or you think about a bridge project, what are you thinking about?
I think about like a bridge that goes over like a lake or a pond.
Okay.
Diagram.
What do you mean?
Like it's a diagram would be the instructions to build something. Bridge project instantly makes me think that we're going to be like somehow like either making a diagram to build a bridge or like actually building a bridge.
Okay, that's interesting. So, and this is a question for anybody, so just think about it for a second. The people who make bridges or design bridges, they're called engineers. Why do you think engineers make diagrams or drawings before they build the actual thing?
So they know what they're building.
Okay, Mabel?
And don't forget, kind of like instructions. Like if you're going to build a Lego thing, you need to know what steps you have.
Okay.
I also think they'd also make a model most likely, and like that. So they use the diagram and they build the tiny model, and if it actually like works to hold like a certain amount of weight, or something, then they keep it. If it doesn't, they change it up.
Okay. So if we're going to have to build a bridge across, so like I'll just show you an example. Like there's an example of a bridge going across a valley.
A train
And that
bridge.
happens to be a train bridge. So
You would have to
before we design our own bridge, what kinds of things would we have to know? Think first. What do we need to know before we can design our bridge? Need to know. All right. What we need to know before we can design our own bridge? Mabel, give me one thing.
how long it is.
Okay. Kashi?
How much weight's gonna be on it,
Oh. Why would we need to know how much weight?
so it doesn't collapse.
Okay. Lincoln?
What materials we have to work with.
Why is that an important thing to think about?
Because the materials have to be strong, and if you want it to last for like a long time, then you're gonna have to have strong materials, and if you don't have strong materials, you're gonna have to get new materials.
Okay. So think again, take a minute, think again. What else do you think we will need to know? Think again in your heads. Lincoln, give me one.
The types of bridges,
What do you mean?
like suspension, as in like the Golden Gate Bridge.
Or train bridge, or whatever.
Okay, so why would we have to think,
Or
why would we
arch.
need to know the different types of bridges before we design our own bridge? Hold on. I want everybody to think about that. Why would we have to know the different types of bridges before we design our own bridge? Mabel?
So if there's a type that we want to build, we know what type we're gonna build.
Okay.
And so the wrong things don't go on it.
Okay. Lincoln?
Because it depends on what you're building across. If you're building it across the river with no cliffs at all, you could probably build a suspension bridge, or maybe an arch bridge,
Okay.
or tower.
So what else can we add to this list? Mabel?
How big the bridge is gonna be,
What do you mean?
like how tall, and how stable.
What else will we need to know?
The amount of money it'll cost.
Okay, so now what I want you to think about, so the people who design the bridges, engineers, so I'm just gonna set this board aside for a second. Why, and just think in your head, why do engineers need to think about their problems before they start designing? So you all came up with like a need to know list. why would engineers need to come up with a need to know list before they start designing anything? Think about that. Why would engineers need to come up with a need to know list before they design anything? Mabel.
So they know what they're building, they know what materials, they know how much weight.
Okay. Lincoln?
So they know all this stuff, and then they can actually start working on the bridge.
Okay.
If they know all this stuff.
Why do they need to know all this stuff before they can start working on the bridge? Think about that. Why do they need to know all this stuff before they start working on the bridge? You got something?
No.
Okay. Lincoln?
If you don't know like the weight or stuff, it could collapse on first try.
Oh, okay. Mabel?
If it's not like stable enough, it could collapse like once somebody's like at least 10 people
So
stand on it.
the name for this need to know list, there's kind of two different names. There's the criteria. There's the things that we need to be able to do, like how much weight it needs to hold or how long it needs to be. Those are called criteria. And then there's also something called constraints. So where you said like how much money is it going to cost? Well, if we only have so much money, that's called a constraint. So the criteria is what it needs to be able to do. The constraints are kind of the limitations. Okay, so now we're going to move on a little bit. Pull this back up. So I want you to take a look at this picture of the valley. And just in your head, imagine, like, what are some things you notice about the valley? Do it in your head first. Can you hear the kids okay? Okay. Cashy, what's something you notice about the valley?
The bridge would have to be super tall
Oh,
to
okay.
get over that wide place,
Okay.
or it could go down.
It doesn't look long. I mean, you may need to put one support in the middle, but otherwise, I don't think you need to use many supports. So you wouldn't need a whole lot of materials.
Okay. Mabel, what are you thinking?
Well, you would want it to be stable because you don't want anybody to fall into the river. And there's lots of trees. You don't also want anybody to get stuck in trees.
Okay. What do you notice about so you notice that it's really tall, but what do you notice about the ground? Like, what's the land made out of?
Mostly grass and rock.
Okay. Mabel, go ahead.
Sand and
Okay.
grass.
It's mostly made out of rock.
Okay.
And
So why might sand and rock cause problems for making a bridge? Think about it in your head. Why might sand and rock be difficult for making a bridge? Cash?
boulders could crush it.
Okay. Lincoln?
Avalanche could cause, so if the bridge isn't long enough, an avalanche could come, or like a giant piece of rock that the bridge is on could fall, and then that cause one side of the bridge to fall and make it lopsided, and that would just cause the entire bridge to collapse.
Okay. So let me show you another picture. So this is a different valley.
Whoa.
What are some things you notice about that valley?
It would have to be a strong bridge, because that's quite some water.
Okay. Cash or Mabel?
It looks like it's super windy and shadowy.
Okay. What makes you that's interesting, Mabel. You said wind. Like, why might wind be a problem for our bridge? Cash.
Could blow it over.
Okay. Why else might
Don't
wind?
mind.
Go ahead.
Wind could cause the bridge there's a possibility of a tornado, maybe.
Okay.
And that could rip apart the bridge.
Okay.
And then I have another thing to add.
Okay, so let's think about the wind again. So like wind, and if we look back to the other one where it's kind of sandy, why might wind and sand together be a bad thing for the bridge? Mabel.
The wind could